what are we doing in the black community? The number one consumer of a Mercedes-Benz
It's us.
us. The number one consumer of a Gucci and a Louis Vuitton, us. And they don't even advertise. Why is it that in the black community, we are always the number one consumer, but we're not the number one creators?
So you just said it, the fact that there's consumers and creators. For so long, we assume success based on consumption.
Welcome back to Closing the Gap, the truth about black wealth. Here again today with Mr. Rico Harris of Create Live. My name is Wilbert Hamilton. I'm owner and founder of Hamilton Wealth Advisors, a African-American owned financial advisory firm based, of course, in Atlanta, Birmingham, and kind of throughout the South. Grateful to have you today. We welcome you back. We're looking forward to diving into some more information and really hoping to enlighten, educate, and hopefully inspire to make a change, because our goal is truly to help close the wealth gap in the African-American community. And today we're going to kind of dive into some different topics. And one of the big things is we've been hearing a lot about a lot of different things going on in the financial markets. A lot of people interested in crypto and, stocks and bonds. And there's a lot of information out there. But one of the biggest things that I've realized is that before you kind of start diving into those things, you got to kind of know who you're talking to.
True.
You got to know, who they are. It's like, how do you know who to go to when you have a particular question? So, we're used to kind of going to the bank and they, deposit our money. They give us a checkbook and, we write checks or we swipe the debit card and, but that's the extent of the relationship.
Right.
We don't really understand their purpose and their goal. What is a financial advisor? What is an insurance agent? So we have all these different things that are out there. We just want to kind of educate and enlighten and hopefully bring some insight into you and hopefully helping you be able to use this information. So, but I want to thank you for having me here today, brother. And
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being here. And, hopefully we can continue to inspire and give hope.
Yeah, I kind of feel like OG on here now, man. It's probably like my second or third time on here. So I'm not new to the show, man. My name is Rico Harris, man. I'm the founder of iPush Magazine and co-founder of Create Live Studios, my business partner behind the camera, Daz Goodman. And I'm happy to be on this particular show, right? Because I feel like I represent the hood. When I say the hood, I mean, I didn't have these conversations coming up. And even as I became an adult, I wasn't having these conversations. So I feel like I represent for the small people, man, that just don't know. We just don't have this knowledge and we don't trust the people who dropping the knowledge. Because the only other person outside of somebody who got the credentials like you that we might trust is Google.
Yeah, and
Or
Google
YouTube.
Google don't fact check. That's why I tell people, Google don't fact check.
Right.
But the great thing is, we're seeking the information.
Right.
We're looking for the information. We're
Right. We woke.
interested.
We woke.
We woke. We waking up. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if we woke just yet, but we waking up.
Okay.
Some of us still lagging behind a little bit. We got to get everybody on board, and but that's what this platform is for.
Right.
We're hoping to get everybody that's not on board with us, so we can kind of push the culture forward and help close that wealth gap. So
Right.
it's always a blessing, man, and I'm glad to hear you say that because it's refreshing to me, as a financial advisor, as a person that, deals with, the financial markets on a day-to-day basis. Is, I'm always excited to hear more people looking and seeking information.
Right.
But we have to know where to go to find the right information. That's one of the biggest things is like how you mentioned, not knowing who to trust.
Right.
How do you know what questions to ask to what person?
True.
How do you know how to find out if a person is licensed and credentialed? These are things that we're all, not accustomed to because we've never had those conversations before. So, there's many type of financial entities.
Right.
Which ones are backed by certain agencies, which ones are not backed.
Right. So let me ask you this. So I got my daughter with me today, right? She's 13 years old. She said, what does he do? And I was like, how do I break down a financial advisor to a 13-year-old? How do we do that?
I tell you what, the biggest key that you want to look for in a financial advisor, my goal as an advisor is to get you from point A to point B.
Dealing with money.
The safest,
Right.
quickest, most efficient way possible using financial vehicles.
Okay.
Now, as a financial advisor in particular, I'm a licensed insurance agent. I'm a licensed securities professional. I have what's called a registered investment advisor, actually the only black-owned one in the state of Alabama.
Hold on, say it again now. The only what now?
Registered investment advisory firm in the state of Alabama that's
Only black
African American
owned.
owned, only
Right.
black owned. So what that basically means is we can perform and operate everything in-house.
Okay.
So we can build financial plans, build investment plans, and continue to facilitate them, moving forward for any client,
Right.
large or small. So we've been blessed to have a lot of different types of clients, but for your daughter per se, for someone that's new to it, to say, okay, well, I'm hearing a lot of these things going on. I'm hearing about people talking about crypto and real estate. Well, how do I know what's right for me?
Right.
And I always tell people, you got to start with the basics. You know, each one teach one. You know, people perish due to lack of knowledge. We definitely suffer from a lack of knowledge in our community. So it's time for us to kind of start seeking that, information, but the right information. We always say, I tell my son all the time, perfect practice makes perfect. Just because you're practicing, don't mean you're getting better.
Okay.
You got to get the right kind of practice. You got to be focused on the right kind of skill set to help actually improve and enhance, what you're trying to do. So the biggest thing is, there's a lot of misconceptions. It's a lot of scams out there now. It's a lot of people, taking advantage of and preying on those people's weakness right now. Because, the great thing is we are waking up.
Right.
But, predators see that we're waking up. So they see it as opportunities to kind of put themselves out there on the platform using social media now to portray themselves as financial professionals, but they're not certified and licensed.
So anybody can call themselves financial advisor, financial anything.
Well, if you're not under a regulatory body, then you can say whatever you want to say.
Right.
There's nobody to hold you accountable.
Okay.
Whereas for me, I'm licensed under the Insurance Commission. I'm also licensed in, under, what's called FINRA and Securities Exchange Commission. So I'm held to a certain standard. What I say can be used against me, in the court of law. So, as a fiduciary advisor, which I am, which basically means I'm a fee-based advisor. Okay. I'm paid professionally to give advice. So that means that whatever comes out of my mouth, I'm held accountable for it.
Okay.
So whatever I do for a client has to be in the best interest of that client. Whereas that kind of brings us to the kind of first thing we want to touch on is the difference between what we have brokers and fiduciary advisors.
Okay.
So most people are familiar with those brokers. And we're gonna kind of touch on that in just a minute and we'll be right back. While being in the business for almost 2 decades, I've experienced and know what truly works and creates longevity and success for our clients. We have developed great understanding and insight into what our community is looking for and expecting in a professional financial advisor. We believe that the client always comes first because we're in the service business, not the sales business. We have a structured process that creates a predictable, reliable, and relatable result. Please join us in helping to close the gap in our community. Feel free to contact us at www.hamiltonwealthadv.com and also at 205-600-4754 for more information. Yeah, so we right back, want to jump right into it, man, and kind of break down the different types of financial professionals you have out there. So, we're familiar with, the branch manager at the bank. That's probably who, we're the most familiar with because that's most of our limited experience has been, at a bank. And most of the time it's not good because we're talking to a branch manager, they put a hold on our check for some reason. They doing something to hold up our money and we trying to use it to do something. So we understand that, and that's a banker.
Right.
The next thing you have, really I say 3 categories of what we call kind of financial advisors that I place them in.
3 categories.
So I say, well, pretty much you have insurance agents, you have brokers, and then you have financial advisors. And the unfortunate thing is, all of them kind of title themselves as financial advisors. So
even the insurance
guy. So you'll meet people that work for Primerica that sell insurance, one type of insurance only, and they call themselves financial advisors. Right. You'll meet people that work at, at Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley or Edward Jones, these types of companies, and they call themselves financial advisors. Right. And then you have someone like me that's a fee-based fiduciary, and of course, I'm called a financial advisor, but I truly financially advise. The first category, the insurance agent, they work for an insurance company. They're paid to sell insurance. Right. They're a broker getting paid a commission for selling insurance-based products. Okay. The second category where you people that work at, your investment firms. That's your Merrill Lynch, your Morgan Stanley, your Edward Jones. These people are paid to invest money. Their compensation is directly derived from getting you to purchase investments. And a broker, as we understand in most situations, is a broker sells on behalf of the company. Right. They do not have to operate in the best interest of you at all times.
Right, they got to do what their boss say do.
They got to do the boss, but they can only offer what the boss said they can offer as well.
That's right.
So we have this understanding, this misperception a lot of times is, if I go see a professional and they are call themselves a financial advisors, well, they're automatically going to work in my best interest. Right. That's only if you happen to meet a great person. But they operate under what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is totally different from a fiduciary standard. Suitability is basically, you walked in and say, I want to purchase this investment. That becomes an unsolicited transaction. I can sell you that investment and whatever happens, happens. It's not on me because you asked for it.
Wow, that's
So you can
like that.
so you can go to an insurance agent, or you can go to a investment broker, and you can say, "Man, I just want to invest in XYZ."
Right.
You've now taken the liability off of them,
Wow.
and they can sell that to you. And because you asked for it, they're not obligated to say, "You know what? Let's take a look at your situation and see if this is appropriate." So that's the difference that most people don't understand. They think that people are working in their best interest, and they're really not.
Right. Could they call up in the name of that company?
They're caught up in the name. They're just like anything else. Companies spend more money on marketing than anything else for a reason.
Yeah.
They want to portray themselves as being a certain thing.
Right.
And they understand what attracts people,
Right.
what makes people believe a certain thing about their product or their industry, and they do a good job at it. They don't pay you millions of dollars
Right.
out to have commercials and things to not attract the right kind of client to be able to do what they want to do. So, but it's on the consumer.
Right.
To continue to educate themselves and find out, okay, well, how do I protect myself when I go into this situation? How do I educate myself with the right type of information and knowledge to be able to make the best decision?
Right.
I'm assuming and giving credence to someone else that they're going to take care of me. My mom always told me, ain't nobody going to take your money like you.
That's right. I agree.
I'm just a firm believer. That's you can't expect someone else to take care of you, because I tell clients like this all the time. I say, look, when you sit down and you talking to that person that's supposed to be your advisor, at the end of the day, are they gonna feed your family or feed their family?
They don't feed this.
If the rubber meets the road, I gotta take care of my family.
That's right.
That's most people. So you have to walk into it understanding who you're talking to, and if they're not held to that kind of fiduciary standard, they're not obligated to operate that way.
So let me ask you this. So we know what the insurance guy does. We know what the financial advisor that works for a boss. What do you do as a financial advisor?
I'm strictly a fee-based fiduciary advisor. So what basically means is I'm legally obligated, not personally,
Right.
but I'm legally obligated to work in my client's best interest at all times, which means that when I sit with a client, I'm going to find out anything and everything. I'm going to go overboard. I'm going to ask more questions. I'm going to be way more detailed, because I have to make sure before I recommend something to you that it is in your best interest, because if it's not, there's actually repercussions for me. I am held liable for the advice that I give, because I'm not a broker selling on behalf of the company.
Right. So for my people out there, he got to be straight up 100 with you and do right by you.
Absolutely, at all times. Well, word is bond. I mean, we want to be able to help and educate, but the first step is understanding who we're talking to.
Right.
So if we're not able to decipher, what's going on and who we're talking to, and right now we see it everywhere, all over Facebook and social media. Everybody's a financial advocate, a financial coach. They're selling seminars, they're selling programs, and they have no credentials and credibility. It's kind of like I have nothing against Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman that a lot of people are familiar with. They're on TV, but they're paid personalities. They're entertainers. They sell books, and their job is to get ratings for the TV networks that they're on.
Right.
If they don't do those two things, then guess what? They're not going to be on TV and on networks anymore.
Right.
So their job is to create a level of fear, a level of excitement to get people to act. Not only that, but if you're on TV, most times you're going to be paid and promoted to push a certain product when you're on there.
Right.
They're paid and endorsed by a lot of companies behind the scenes that people will have no idea
That's
about.
why the gap stands so wide.
That's why the gap, because we take information that we hear as the gospel.
Right.
What we have to understand is, okay, well, let me identify my situation. Let me find out where I'm at. Let me talk to a financial professional that's a fiduciary that's going to give me the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
Personally dedicated to my situation. So that doesn't mean that these people don't give out some good information, some good tidbits from time to time.
Right.
But it's understanding how to directly apply that to you, and you can only do that by actually meeting with a financial professional that has access to information and insight that we don't normally have.
How do we find a fiduciary? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I don't see that word being used as much as financial advisor, financial advocate, all those other words.
Well, it's crazy. The one thing you said earlier, Google. We look on Google for everything else.
Yeah.
We Google where the car dealership at, we Google the restaurant. You can Google fee-based advisor. You can Google fiduciary financial advisor. You can Google CFP, certified financial professional. These are all things that you can Google and it'll pull up. And it'll actually give you information and give you access to those people. And even when you go in and talking to people, when you talk to the advisor, just ask them, say, hey, what license and credentials do you hold? People ask me all the time, especially, being an African-American man that, works in the financial industry, what is your background?
Right.
I'm like, well, I have a degree in economics and finance.
Right.
Okay, well, how long you been in the business? Almost 2 decades. Well, what license do you hold? I've had a Series 6, 63, 65, insurance license, multiple states. I'm able to operate nationwide. So, ask questions. We can't be afraid to ask those questions.
Can't be afraid to ask questions.